familiar territory for me, old stomping grounds, a team that I covered for a handful of years before moving on to covering the league at a national level. Really uncharted territory for the New York Giants in that there is suddenly some legitimate optimism, some legitimate buzz, some legitimate excitement about the young players, especially on this roster. And there was just a different vibe to this place and to this team today in practice. And so much of what the Giants are hopeful about going into 2025, so much of what they're optimistic about is the quarterback room that they've built around Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito coming back. And they trade up to draft their guy they believe can be a franchise quarterback eventually in Jackson Dart. Walking out to the field today with a Giants source that I've known for years, he told me point blank that there is a certain level of excitement about these quarterbacks. He said, quote, all four quarterbacks have a presence, unquote. After practice, caught up with Darius Slayton, Giants wide receiver, who told me that these quarterbacks are really a lot of experienced guys. And what he really likes, what really stands out to him on a daily basis, is that all four of them, no matter what group you're in practice, first team, second team, third team, fourth team, they can all get you the football. And if there's a word to describe what the Giants are trying to be this season offensively, if there is a mantra from Brian Dable on down in what is effectively a make or break season for Brian Dable, it's explosiveness. And Darius Slayton told me that he believes that with the talent they have in place, with Malik Neighbors, with himself, with Wan'Dale Robinson coming on a little bit here, that they believe they can be an explosive offense, marrying the big play threat, the deep ball ability of Malik Neighbors with Russell Wilson's ability to stretch the field. And we really saw that shine through during practice today, during an 11-on-11 period. Russell Wilson faked a handoff, rolled out to his right, and then just launched a perfectly placed ball down into the corner of the end zone, 60, 65 yards downfield. I believe it was Neighbors who made the catch. Couldn't really tell because of how the players were standing on the sideline and the bodies. But from my vantage point, very clearly a catch, very clearly a throw that was right on the money from Russell Wilson, and the kind of throw that the Giants hope and believe can be the hallmark of their offense. Now, obviously, what you see on the practice field at the end of July isn't always how things take shape in September, October, November, December, especially with this brutal schedule the Giants have, number one strength of schedule in the league. But when you look up and down this roster and you see some of the talent on the field, Abdul Carter arriving as the number 3 overall pick, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, of course, Dexter Lawrence is back. The defense, there's the making of a defense that can be disruptive. And even if the wins don't start to stack up for the Giants, they're going to be competitive. They're going to be in games because of the talent on defense, especially up front, especially you talk about those edge rushers being disruptive. And it's not just the big three, right? You can talk about what Abdul Carter did at Penn State. You could talk about the early returns of him being a freakish athlete, and that's shining through on the field during OTAs and mini camps this spring and now into the first 7 practices of training camp. But just under the surface, a guy like Darius Alexander flying just underneath the radar. Spoke to someone today. They're really high on this kid. And when you're watching this defense, when you're watching the defensive line, 3rd-round pick out of Toledo, stepping into a leadership role, even as a young player, trying to absorb everything, trying to, when he can, pick his spots to step up and be a vocal leader. You see it on the field, too, because if he can play his way into a role alongside Dexter Lawrence in that rotation, the clock starts to tick a little bit faster for the opposing quarterback in the pocket. You saw that on a couple of plays, couple of glimpses in practice today. I thought this offense kind of showed what they could be. The defense, it's obvious that Abdul Carter is going to wreak havoc. It's obvious that Brian Burns is Brian Burns. And I think that as much as the Giants are optimistic about Evan Neal moving to offensive guard, and I can tell you from conversations today, that's not just coach speak. Multiple people telling me that they thought that he's done really, really well in that spot, that Evan Neal, a former first-round pick, might have the chance to not just resurrect his career, but carve out a role along that offensive line, along the interior. They're really high on him. They think that this is going to work. They're going to think that this could light a spark or a fire underneath Evan Neal moving to the inside. But as optimistic as they are, and for as much upside as a second team All Pro like Andrew Thomas has, this Giants offense is going to go as far as the offensive line can take it. And if there was a weakness on this roster right now, I still think that they haven't done enough to fix the offensive line. And that's now going on a 10, 15-year process for this franchise, for this organization, for this personnel department. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be exciting to watch. The offense might be explosive. The defense has the chance to be really disruptive. But, I think that the buzz that you're seeing nationally coming out of the swamps of Jersey about this team, I think it might be justified. So I'm Matt Lombardo signing off here from East Rutherford. We'll be coming to you from Ashburn, Virginia on Saturday, looking at the Washington Commanders and whether Jaden Daniels and company can make the leap from the NFC title game a year ago into a potential Super Bowl appearance and cementing themselves as a contender. We're going to look at the Commanders Saturday afternoon in Ashburn. Thanks for checking in.